Here's what happened. So today, to kick off the new year, went on a walk with my life partner. She has this like favorite loop in the neighborhood. So went around it a bunch of times, being able to talk about the vision we have for our life, the dreams that are coming up, the travel plans, figuring out how the hell to make those travel plans happen. And then talking about challenges and like problems that were coming up, being able to have that time to reconnect. Because when you get in your day-to-day life, you have those challenges that you're getting hit with. You can want to silo. And so having these moments to reconnect is so powerful in partnership. From that, just being me was something I realized and sparked it for today in this convo to have with you, which is like being my weird self and how fucking awesome that is to be able to do that with her. And giving myself more of these opportunities to actually appreciate that. And what I mean by just being myself, because you can get that question of like, what the fuck does that mean? Being myself. You may have gotten that a few times and you're like, trying to figure that out. And I don't know what the hell that is. I look at it as not having to think about, is she going to judge what I'm going to say? And that could be judging with me trying to turn things into a sexual reference for things that we say. Or it could be, is she going to think of me less than for just doing random accents? Or is she going to like all of a sudden think I'm like worry about me if I'm saying things that don't really make sense? And like all these thoughts where you can think less than, or you can think that people are judging you or trying to like point at you and be like, that's like, we're concerned about what's going on over there with Johnny, like concerned what's up with that. I want to tell you that this is going to be the opportunity for you to navigate this, of embracing your weirdness. And it's such a powerful boost of confidence that can come from that I can share from my own personal experience that I want to get into. And especially can help with less stress and being able to smile more. This is Make Burnout Extinct. I'm Robert David Weeks. Before getting into it, I want to say thank you for listening. I so appreciate you being here. There could have been a bunch of other stuff that you've been doing, and so I want to acknowledge that and say thank you. And I'm here to deliver. And I don't want to gloss over it super fast. I want to recognize that you're taking a moment here to step into this for embracing your weirdness. And that can be really scary. There can be a lot of fear that bubbles up and resistance from the body to even do that thing or even think about it. So I want to acknowledge that for you. And if you haven't done it yet, you can subscribe and follow the show for the latest episodes. My commitment is to continue to grow this show. The movement that's been building behind this is something that gives me a lot of gratitude and appreciation for just being the messenger for this mission of Make Burnout Extinct. So thank you for being a part of this movement. Today, I want to talk about embracing that weirdness. And you may notice resistance as I'm saying that, or a charge within the body. And it's a moment for you to reflect on where the hell that's coming up from. So it could be from your gut, could be chest tightening in your chest, tingles that could be popping up, or even in your head, you could feel like the spidey senses, or you just might not feel anything, where it's like this numbing sensation that comes up. This one goes deep. It's sharing who you are to another person and to the world. And more importantly, being able to embrace that within yourself to even start that process of then sharing it with someone else. And what happens is there's a huge resistance that comes up and a fear that I had felt in my own life throughout the messaging I was getting of like, oh, it's not okay to be weird. It's not okay to just be silly and say random stuff in certain situations. It's one of those moments where you gotta polish yourself and put on the mask and try to be perfect and have everything put together and everything is lined up for how people should perceive you. And you have that master plan and you're not able to just be. You're thinking through all the potential scenarios of, are they going to judge me for this? Do I need to change these wordings here and there? And that can be helpful to learn the skills of communication. But if you are doing that and then suppressing what is coming up for you and just like being able to have fun and like be your weird fucking self, that's where then there can be a buildup of stress that comes up from the body. And that is where you can move towards hitting burnout. And there is burnout that can happen because of the resistance and the suppression you put on yourself, because it actually takes more energy to try to suppress who you are than just naturally being in the present moment and just sharing what the hell is on your heart and in your mind and expressing that out to the world. And this is where you have to navigate both the communication from your heart and then thinking intellectually and rationalizing, okay, what's the context that I'm in? And that's really important too. And that can help you with embracing the weirdness. But the first step is actually identifying your weirdness. So I want to get into that. I want to get into then my own experience of embracing my weirdness and being able to just share that and like just do random things, like make random noises and just be like, oh my gosh, hey, what's up? Like these changing my voice, being able to express that and like have fun with it. So because then life gets a lot better when you're able to do that. So I want to share that from my own personal experience, things that came up, like the challenges and the stress that comes up with that. And then get into some other steps, specifically some actions that you can take to start embracing your weirdness and then continue that momentum for yourself after listening to this. Because again, it comes back to you got to play a part in this. And if you are someone that right now feels like you're wearing the mask and you feel like there is no one in your life that is truly understanding who you are, and then anytime you try to even step into that, embrace that weirdness, it's like this immediate resistance and feels like you're hitting against an imaginary wall, and your confidence all of a sudden really lowers down to what you think you can handle. If that is you and you feel like you're walking on eggshells constantly, then you are in the right place to dive into this. If you feel a stress response from the body whenever you're trying to step into your weirdness in certain situations, I want to tell you, you're in the right place. If you want to be able to just show up to strangers you've never met and just be your weird self and express that, rather than having to worry about like, okay, are they going to judge me? Are they going to think less of me? But you just show up as yourself and you just are able to speak from that presence that you have within yourself, and you're wanting to be able to do that more, you're going to be in the right place. So first is identifying the weirdness. And a great way to be able to do that is actually connecting to laughter. When you're laughing, being able to understand what sparks that for you for a body response, and realizing that those are clues into your weirdness. So for me, I think of movies. I really like movies. My life partner, she's big on wanting to watch movies in bed, and I try to do the whole like no tech in bed vibe. So it's been like we've been having to navigate that and like and communicate about it. So I will have those moments where I like watch a movie in bed, and there's one recently that we watched, Grown Ups. So it's with, I mean, Adam Sandler as an actor. I really connect to his style of comedy and like how he's expressing himself and just being able to do like weird shit, made weird noises. So I really vibe with that and like it. So in Grown Ups, I just remembered they had that moment. If you've ever watched it, it's like the scene where everyone's all around and they're all reconnecting because their basketball coach, when they were little, died. And so they're all coming back for the funeral. And then they're going to go to this lake house and be able to hang out there, reconnect. They have his ashes that they're going to throw on this like this random ass island in the middle of this lake that they canoe out to. And then they have a rematch with the team they played against when they were kids. They have a rematch as adults. But I remember there was like this scene where Adam Sandler kicks it off. I forget that other guy, the other actor's name, but it's about like they're talking about maize, corn. And the other actor is like talking about like, oh, it's great for like certain things to help out, like, around healing practices. And all of a sudden, like Adam Sandler like, kicks it off and they're just like, maize, maze, 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 maze. And they just say that. It's like, I'm laughing because it's just like the randomest thing. Like they're just like going off on it, and it connected to me in some way, and I didn't really know what it like. Especially first few times seeing Adam Sandler and his style, I was like, man, what am I connecting to with his style? And what it was making random noises and being just what I then connected to was my weirdness, like just being able to be like me or like what's up or hey, how's it going? Hey there. what up? What's up? Just those moments I connected to, and I realized that that's a part of my weirdness is I like being able to do that and express that. And it's interesting because even being on this podcast, sharing it with you, that I noticed that where I had to get more comfortable being able to share my weirdness with you. And I had said one of my commitments was to be able to be honest with you and share the journey and share what comes up from making Burnout Extinct. And I really believe that includes sharing more of my weirdness with you and really embracing that weirdness of being able to express that with you. And that's what I want to be able to do. And I feel like we all want that, to be able to express that to people and be ourselves. I go back to this Alex Ramosi quote that's really powerful. I'm going to paraphrase it. I don't know exactly how it is, but it's that saying of like, what is it that you want to say where if you knew there was no consequences, you would say it. And the more you can live in that for your day-to-day life, God, the easier life becomes. And I know that from personal experience. So comedy is a great place to start. Maybe it's stand-up comics is what you like. Maybe it's sketches, plays, movies like me, shows. But notice whenever you're laughing, what's coming up for you. And I'm going to go on a little side tangent. This is my vibe. This is what I like to do. So with laughter, I learned something that I think is super interesting, fascinating, that I want to share with you. Laughter overall is helpful to reducing the stress levels that you have. And what I mean by that, because it's tough with stress, like stress is a response that your body has for a potential threat. So you get into the fight or flight mode, freeze or fawn that I've talked about for the responses. And that's where then adrenaline and cortisol, for those hormones, are getting pumped into the body, and you're heightened, you're alert. So with laughter, what happens is, yes, it's a stress response that it responds it has that stress response. The body then contracts for, you think of your stomach, like where you're laughing from the belly laughs, or your diaphragm, and then like you're feeling it in your face where there can be tension. And so within that, what happens is then the body notices there's slight pain there, an exertion like exercise, and from that then pumps in the hormone of, oh man, I'm already struggling with endorphins, pumps endorphins into the body. And those are the feel-good chemicals. It's then able to be able to mask the pain, is what it can feel like, and then you feel good, and then you get into a relaxed state. And so that's what's happening with laughter, is as your stomach is contracting, and this is genuine laughing, because there's a difference between genuine laughing and then fake laughing, right? Where you're just like, like, yeah, it's not really funny, but I'm gonna laugh because I'm really nervous right now and I don't want to offend anyone. That's a response for the stress. So it's when you have those genuine laughs where you just belly laughs, you just laugh out loud moments. That's what I'm talking about with laughter, and being able to connect to that, to be able to then figure out your weirdness of what resonates within you. And then what happens is once the endorphins hit, you're able to help move the nervous system into the parasympathetic state. Science shows that, one, it helps to reduce the stress. It helps when it comes to boosting your immune system. Also helps you with your mood as well, like being able to then move that nervous system into parasympathetic of the rest and digest, the relaxation state. So it's super cool for the power of laughter. And that's what I found out about it, which was awesome. So then for me, in my experience, what has come up throughout my life is I had always this fear that came up of feeling, it's not so much of, well, it is a fear. It's like thinking someone's watching me 24/7. And that might be something that you have that has come up, where I just noticed that, where I'm like, oh man, like I'm always on edge. Just always on edge. And I didn't realize it at the time, but moving through life, I felt like this tight rubber band of stress. Like I was constricted. And I have to go back to like this stress that was building within my body of holding myself back from sharing my weirdness, and more importantly, from embracing my weirdness. And what can happen in those moments is you're expending a lot of energy trying to hold yourself back. Because you think of like a baby, I really like this. Eric Edmeades, one of my mentors, he shared this about a baby on an airplane. Like they are just communicating naturally. They are able, like they are expressing themselves. They're crying, laughing. If the kid's a little bit older, just saying stuff where you're like, oh, you should probably not say that right now. They have no filter. They'll just say it until someone comes in and says, hey, you shouldn't say that, or quiet down. That's where then all of a sudden we get trained into holding ourselves back from embracing that weirdness and expressing it out. And it's really important for where embracing to have both the connection to your heart and being able to express that, and then bringing the mind in the intellectual side of it, of context, of realizing when to express that. But first, we got to embrace it. And what I realized as I was thinking back to these moments of just being in this constant like constriction and fear of thinking someone's watching me, and so I have to walk on eggshells, and then I get into the thought process, how do they want me to show up as? What you have to remember is starting small, which is identify your weirdness. So knowing, with going back to the movies, what you connect to, that you aren't then expressing outwardly to other people. And then there's a realization that you're not alone in your weirdness. We are all weird in some way. And you have to remember that a lot of times people are coming into it and trying to put their best foot forward, trying to show up as being polished. And that is a natural survival instinct as human beings, is to like be able to show up if it's strong, be able to show up as like you're part of the group and you belong. And there can be that urge to want to do that, of like, let me connect with the group. Okay, how are they all acting? So I'm going to act in that way. And what I want to tell you is like, we're living in the modern times where you can be you and express that out to the world and share that weirdness. And actually, you're going to then create permission for other people to express their weirdness, because it's there. It's just we don't choose to show that a lot of times to other people. And I want to be able to let you know that you absolutely have the capabilities as a human being to do that, because you can go back to being a kid where you were just being able to share what was coming up until someone told you you weren't supposed to do that. And that's where you get into then that habit of not doing it and sharing your weirdness, and choosing to not embrace the weirdness and share that out. So it goes back to, again, to recap it goes back to awareness, understanding what those connection points are, identifying for yourself what parts are not being expressed outwardly to the world, so how to embrace that, and then realizing you're not alone. Everyone is weird in their own ways, and being able to connect back to that and share that. And then it goes into how to start that process, because what happens is you've got to figure out how to start sharing that part of you. That's where putting in the reps of sharing your weirdness continues to create a strong connection to embrace the weirdness. And then it boosts your confidence, because then you're just showing up as you, and then you have trust within your body, and then you're able to recognize for signals of when you're hitting burnout, for being able to recognize signals in your body. And then you feel a master of your body, and you can feel like you really know your body super well, and there's familiarity there. And then trust within your body, which is really important, because there's a lot of things in your body that you don't control. When it comes to like the heartbeat is like one example of like literally the blood pumping throughout your body. Like your body's doing that without you even having to consciously put effort towards that. So then it's figuring out who can you share that with. And that is thinking back to who is it that you trust in your life. So that could be parents, that could be a partner, that could be a safe group. I mean, heck, that's the community that's being built here with this mission of Make Brown Extinct, of just being able to be yourself, be your real self, and express that. But then it's figuring out, okay, where can you share this? And it may just start with you sharing it in your room to yourself. You could have that opportunity to just like talk in the mirror and share the weirdness, or have these moments throughout the day where you're actually acting out in that way, where I'll literally be walking around a shower, like in the shower, I'll start singing in the shower, doing that, or just like making weird noises while I'm cooking and just having fun with it. So that could be one where I'm just like doing even voice exercise, where I'll be like, or like la 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 la, or like dun 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 dun. I'll do that while I'm cooking. And those are my connection points. And so you want to create these connection points to come back to your weirdness, to be able to embrace it. And then from there, I remember telling my life partner, I was like, I want to be super comfortable with you. And I just want to share everything of who I am with you. And that was then a decision I made to do that and share that. And sometimes it won't be received by everyone. And so there was a risk in me doing that. And that's where you can notice a resistance that comes up from the body. So naturally, there'll be resistance, because with anything new, especially for a new habit that you're implementing, is going to create uncertainty for the body. And through uncertainty, that can create fear. And then this resistance that naturally comes up from the body. So that's where you're going to have those opportunities to push through, because you can remember that you were doing this, you were honoring a commitment to yourself to share that weirdness, to embrace the weirdness. And then by sharing it, you're continuing to reconfirm that commitment that you've made to yourself of putting in the reps to embrace your weirdness, because you're living it and expressing that out to the world. And more importantly, get away from the world idea, but just to the people closest to you. And it's through that you then start to realize that you can survive this, right? That you're like, oh man, I did that. Okay, cool. Like, what else can I do? Who else can I share this with? And there are going to be those moments where eventually you'll get pushback. People are not everyone's going to vibe with it. And that's something to remember. Not everyone will vibe with it. But what's most important is to create the safety within yourself to embrace that weirdness. And how you do that is you get present and you start to put in the practice. And it's just these subtle moments on your own to start, of saying it out loud. Things that are on your mind, on your heart, that you really want to express. It might be a little scary for wanting to share that. Just share it and have that time for you. Remembering you are safe. And that's a great reminder that you can verbalize to yourself, of like an affirmation. You just be like, dude, I'm safe. Like, I'm here. I'm good. I'm safe. I can express this. And that's how you build it. And it can sound so simple, I know, and it's like, can be so silly, and it's like, oh, that's too simple. But I'm telling you, that's the process of how you can get started with this thing. And then as you continue to boost your confidence more and more, going back to confidence of like knowing you can handle any challenge that comes your way, then you can expand out who you're sharing this with more and more. And then that could be going into work, sharing more of that weirdness out there. And so then that can change for when it comes to, let's say, presentations, how you're doing presentations. It can make it more exciting. I mean, we want to know people, right? We want to know who you are and what's coming up, as well as the information that you're sharing. Being able to understand, are you genuine in how you're expressing it? Are you authentic? Like those words that come up and they register something within you. And what that really is being able to recognize another person that is present in who they are and is confident in who they are and is able to step into that and communicate that out. And we all have that confidence within us, right? It all exists within us. It's just how much of that is there. And then how do we continue to boost it in certain situations? So once you have all that, then it comes into the next phase of it, which is, okay, context, right? Understanding the context that you're in order to share the weirdness. And you don't have to share fully all the weirdness with every single person. You don't have to do that. It can be different for a life partner, to then your friends, to then strangers that are out there. You get to decide that, right? It doesn't have to be an all or nothing. You get to decide how much you want to share. And that's something else I want to remind you of as you're embarking on this journey. And like, as you're diving into this things, it's there, that fear can build even more, and that resistance can build even more if we think it's an all or nothing approach. And it doesn't have to be. It's starting small and then building momentum from there. And then context. So where that comes in is thinking back to, like, if you're in a library and people are there in order to work and study and be in a quiet space, you all of a sudden jumping into a library and be like, hello world, I'm here. Yeah. Look at me. All you're going to look like is an asshole, right? But for yourself, you may think, okay, that I want to do that because I just want people to see me. I don't care what other people think. But that's where bringing in that awareness from the mind is really important, because that's not going to be the best place to just go out there and create so much noise. But what could be is just while you're walking on the street or at the park, could be another one of just going in and sharing who you are. Like maybe you want to just dance, right? You just want to dance. You just want walking down the street and you want to dance. I heard this from, I think it was Carmichael, in an interview with Joe Polish, where he just said, hey, like I'm dancing on the street, walking down the sidewalk as I'm dancing a little bit and walking. And then I see a group in front of me at this light. And all of a sudden, as I got closer, I started to stop dancing because I was like, yeah, I saw the people that were all around me. And I connect to that too. I'm like, oh man, like if I'm walking and I'm whistling, or if I'm just like, do, 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 what's up, like, or singing, I'll quiet down whenever I have someone I notice that's around me, even if they're like not on the same sidewalk. Well, I don't want them to judge me, or like all of a sudden I'm like trying to be like, oh, I don't want them to feel like scared of me or any of this thing. Well, I'm just saying, I'm having a good time hanging out. So all of a sudden I can that's a moment for me to continue to step into it, of embracing my weirdness and just sharing that and making sure I respect other people. And that's so important, is be able to respect other people's spaces, especially personal spaces. Like that is really important. Like in order to embrace your weirdness, it doesn't have to mean that you disrespect other people that are around. And that's where common sense is really important to remember as you're going on this journey, because it can feel like a pendulum swing where especially if you haven't done this before, of embracing your weirdness, you may try to swing the pendulum all the way super far out and go even like 10x or 100x what you thought you were going to do for embracing your weirdness. And then usually what happens is you can come back into this equilibrium of figuring out what is your middle ground with this stuff. But I want to remind you is like being able to be respectful of other people as you embrace your weirdness and share that, to realize that not everyone is going to be open and like excited to witness your weirdness. And that's natural to happen because people have other stress and challenges in life that builds throughout the day. And so it's honoring the context and noticing that. But it's remembering every time that you embrace your own weirdness to celebrate that, giving yourself a moment to just tap, a physical acknowledgement of a celebration. For me, I tap my shoulders, raise my arms up, and I do like, yeah, like, let's go. That's really helpful. And remembering that this process starts small with this, right? Just start small, build from there. And I want to tell you that you're absolutely capable of this as a human being to make it happen. And so to recap it, all right, I'm bringing that all on back here. So first is awareness. Comedy is a great place to start. Laughter. What do you laugh at? And who do you laugh with? What do you notice that they're doing that you aren't able to do with other people, or you have a resistance or fear of doing that, of making weird noises, of, being able to share funny stories, like, or embarrassing moments? Like, what is it that you connect to with comedy? And then from there, being able to understand what is the stuff that you're not sharing outwardly, and then start to put in the practice. And you can do that with yourself, putting that in the mirror as you're cooking, going doing your work tasks, doing all these different things. Maybe it's dancing, like doing some dancing, could be one. So practice for yourself. And that's where you can create that trust within your body and you can connect back to it. And what's fascinating is all of a sudden you're going to feel lighter for energy. Like there is such a amount of energy that gets put on trying to suppress yourself and compress everything. And you're actually going to notice that that's what can lead to burnout, is just the suppression that you're putting on yourself. So by letting go of that, you actually create more energy that you can put towards other areas of life, towards improving other areas of life, which is really cool. So again, practice for yourself. And then from there, figure out who are you comfortable with sharing this stuff with, and be able to do that. And start there. Start small. Don't overwhelm them, but build up from there. And continue to make the decision that you're going to show up as yourself and you're going to express that. And then from there, continue to express that outwardly to other people. And then to remember to celebrate after you do that. And to remind the body that you want to be able to do more of this and continue to embrace that weirdness. And then it becomes that habit of expressing yourself out there, of just being, which is really cool. And then those other outside thoughts or those thoughts of outside judgment that could come in, and are they going to look at me, down on me, or the less than, all those the thoughts that can create these spirals that can also lead to burnout with the exhaustion that you feel. That then quiets down a little bit more, and then you get to show up. And I want to tell you, if you haven't heard it yet, I believe in you. You are capable of being able to do this, and you got this.